teachers who Zoom classes. What's the most disturbing thing you've seen on a student's Zoom? Lots of arguing. Lots of lonely kids. Lots of kids taking care of younger siblings, all alone. Lots of kids who are in a different place every day. Just so sad. Nothing really disturbing, but very eye-opening about how different lives can be. I'm continually surprised at how loud some of the houses are. TVs blaring, music on full volume, people screaming non-stop, all while the student is sitting placidly, seemingly, paying attention to me. Dude, my mom's neighbors are loud as F for some reason. You'll be sitting inside the house and you'll hear them arguing about some sh from their yard every day. Literally the only people on the block who are that loud. I am a teacher. We are supposed to require cameras remain on. At the beginning of all this nonsense I did. However, it's pretty obvious it makes some kids uncomfortable. One kid used to come to class without a shirt. Constantly. I told him he needed to wear one. Another time he changed his pants in front of the camera. It's been dealt with. Respectfully. Another kid, I teach high school, was doing his work and his adult brother walked in naked. Just sort of wandered around the room. Then he just stood there talking to his brother, having no idea he was on camera. With 25 kids or more in the gallery, it's difficult to home in on one kid. When I noticed what was going on, I just knocked him out of the meeting. I can mute but not shut off cameras. The guy wasn't doing anything nefarious. Just being a naked older brother. More common is hearing loud relatives arguing in the background. Just the intimacy of being in their homes with them freaks me out a bit. Even though we're remote. Also, I can recognize most kids by their ceiling fans. Last sentence killed me. So this isn't disturbing, more wholesome, but I'm a prof lecturing via Zoom, and the best thing I saw during an online lecture was a student that would cook and food prep each week in his kitchen. The other students would get really into it and ask what he was cooking each week. It was just really sweet. That's a different one. I like it. I taught first grade remotely all year at a high poverty school. Thankfully I'm going back in person in this fall. However, it was very enlightening seeing each kid's home life and all the obstacles they deal with on a daily basis, and then seeing their awesome resilience. I've had dads walking around without their shirt, which is just funny. Imo. It's insane the amount of terrible language parents use when kids turn their mics on. Like, really disturbing stuff. Had to call home on that one. One time, this kid couldn't hear anything I was saying and I couldn't hear him because parents were fighting in the background and it was really nasty. So, this sweet little guy went to the bathroom, sat in the bathtub, and closed the curtain so he could keep learning. Love that kid. That made me really sad. Student told us she had a new puppy. Then she didn't show us the puppy. Unacceptable. Really. F for participation. I was giving a recertification training class and there, in the background, was a student's roommate and their partner making the beast with two backs on the floor of the living room. The student, bless his heart, had headphones on and was not at all paying attention to what was going on behind him. I tried nudging him via DM, but eventually had to accidentally disconnect his access and give the class a break so I could call him on the phone. So, a few minutes later, he's back on. His face beat red. The roommate and their partner have left and my class, a group of heavy equipment operators, had the good grace to act like they hadn't seen a thing. Everyone passed and I look forward to never having to see the insides of anyone's house ever again. Man. Today I'm learning how many people really casually whack meat and have sex in the same room as their siblings and roommates. I had to interrupt a student I was meeting with to let her know I could see her roommate, who was in a towel and about to start changing. And that's how I became the least popular teacher on campus. Not really disturbing, but on the very first day of virtual classes in my very first period, I had two Zoom bombers come in and start yelling obscenities on their mics. I wasn't familiar with the software at all, so it took me a minute to figure out how to mute kick ban them. This sounds like it's a thing. That's gotta be the worst. I've had my fair share of nose pickers on screen and people peeing in the bathroom next to the student of screen. But I've had some nice ones too. One student last year showed us her balcony garden and it inspired me to plant a garden as well. Some students put their children on for a moment or two, and that's cute. I had one student who would decorate her background, in real life, not a background filter, with stuff inspired by what we were working on. I really liked that one. I've had plenty of eaters showing off what they're eating. I had one guy show us a different anime figurine from his collection every day. I teach a 10-week course and he had a lot of them. I had another student play traditional Mexican guitar music for us and another play the piano. Generally, it's been very nice these past 16 months. Not a Zoom class but a Zoom domestic abuse group meeting. In the middle of a meeting, one of the women's husband came on screen and immediately started yelling at her. She quickly hung up the call after the therapist yelled out. Police were called and everything. Haven't heard from her since. Naked mom on the background. And took a while for one of the students to point out. Poor guy. I can only imagine the bullying he was through after that. Was his mom hot? Bruh. Saw a parent hit their special needs child on camera this year in the middle of class. Like full on backhanded slap. Had to immediately shut down my class. Contact my principal and file a police report. My anxiety levels were through the roof for a while after that situation. Someone was half off camera so you could see their shoulder and top half of their arm and was obviously jacking off. The class group chat started freaking out too. Nah, I've seen that one. He was just drying dishes. Some dishes they must have been. I'm not a teacher, but my teacher went to use the washroom and forgot to mute. We heard everything. Who the heck doesn't leave their headphones on the desk? EHM. Well, this is awkward. What else do I use Bluetooth headphones for? There's a video circulating in Romania with a teacher literally wiping his A while teaching on Zoom. He does it so casually, LMAO. It's at university level. Wait till you see a Serbian Zoom class. Middle school teacher here. Dad was clearly smoking a joint in the background in only his boxer shorts. 10 AM in the morning. I kicked the kid out of the meeting to help save him from embarrassment and told the student it was a technical problem on my end and that I would excuse him from the day's assignment. That was really decent of you. Nothing worse to a kid than being embarrassed by parents. Shoes on the bed. Kill it before it lays eggs. Not disturbing but more embarrassing. We had a lecture about kidney transplants and I wasn't paying attention and just playing games, but I fed up, said what a waste of money. Little did I know that I forgot to mute my mic. Very awkward moment when you need to explain that you don't think that an organ transplant isn't a waste of money. Not a teacher but one classmate was wearing a cat maid outfit. If it makes you feel better, a boy at my school wears a maid outfit every day, without fail, to Iril school. Teacher here. Nothing too bad except the insane amount of noise in some homes. Music blasting, TV blaring, dogs barking, babies crying, extremely loud vulgar arguments. Really sad and quite an eye-opener. To be clear, I work in a very poor area. Not a teacher but one classmate, uni, took us with him on his cell phone to dig a hole in his front yard for the whole 50-minute class. That's where he's putting his computer once the school year is over to forget about Zoom forever. That's how you get zombies. I had a student sipping wine during a critique once and at one point was noticeably drunk. Things happen. Tell me you teach college and not younger. Yes, I teach college. Not a teacher but some kid in my class had a giant hentai poster behind him. Not disturbing but I did have a student almost burn down his house during one of my civics classes. A student was making eggs and a dish towel caught on fire. It was great to see who was actually paying attention because they were screaming fire. I gave extra credit to the kids who yelled and transitioned from the legislative branch to the basics of fire safety. Never shout fire in a joint session of Congress. Most members are on the old side and would be crushed like bugs in the ensuing stampede. Black screens with white names. It's also the tamest thing I've seen. It's the only thing I've seen for 15 months. I hate this so ducking much. I'm a student and while I do participate in it, I have to agree it makes it so much harder to learn. Kids aren't comfortable showing their home lives, you know. I start the Zoom lesson. Immediately my eye is drawn to one of my students who has had dad standing with him. Camera goes off pretty quickly. I assume he's been caught in frame and the camera went off to allow him to get lost. Camera comes back on. Dad looks to be gone but it's actually lying down motionless face up on the bed. All I can see are his shoes. Didn't want to embarrass my student by drawing attention to it. And Dad couldn't see the screen so safeguarding spidey sense wasn't at critical mass. So I carried on. He didn't move more my 90-minute lesson on modes of the major scale. Either he was bored to sleep by it or he wanted a free music theory lesson. I had expected this to take a very dark turn. Not a teacher. However, my friend's sister, who is currently in 4th grade, had a classmate, around 10-11 years old, use a gel and blow smoke into the camera. Another time that same girl cut her hair in front of the camera. What 4th grader has a gel TF? Not a teacher, but someone was asked to screen share and it was literal porn. A few years ago I caught a student watching porn in class. Not a teacher but a classmate. We were in the middle of an online test when that dude decides to whip his tool out and go at it. His mic and camera was on and the teacher had to call his mom into the room where her son was jerking off. Not that disturbing really, but kid puts up photo of himself in his room looking very attentive. Took a while to notice it was a photo. College prof. Some instances of partial nudity, nothing explicitly vulgar but just 2 steps further than casual outfit. From what I understood, it was a pickup attempt towards other classmate. A Zoom thirst trap is actually pretty clever. He was just totally naked, menacingly. Parent with covered barfing in the background. Scene. Naked grandma slowly limping through the background. Fortunately, since I was screen sharing, I don't think anyone else noticed. Either that or these 10-year-olds have the best poker face ever. Hurt, in the background at full volume. Well, you tell that mother effer that the next time I see him I'm cutting his balls off. I couldn't get the student muted in time. She sat there totally stoic about the whole thing, and her home life was already on our radar. But there was a second or two of silence and one kid just goes, "That wasn't school appropriate language at all." One kid just goes, "That wasn't school appropriate language at all." That kid is hilarious. That kid's comedic timing is on point.